Welcome to the Lotus Ladder Podcast. I am delighted to introduce today's guest, Abha Singhvi. Abha is a visionary entrepreneur, leadership coach, investor, board member, and adjunct faculty at Santa Clara University's Levy School of Business. With more than 30 years of experience spanning business strategy, sales, recruiting, and leadership development, she has built an impressive career helping organizations and leaders grow and thrive. As a serial entrepreneur, Abha has co-founded 2 companies, including one that was successfully acquired by Monster.com. Today, she also invests in emerging startups as a member of Sand Hill Angels, where she helps support the next generation of entrepreneurs. Her impact extends far beyond Silicon Valley. Abha has worked with leaders from more than 40 countries, designing leadership programs, coaching executives and teams, and helping organizations build stronger, more inclusive leadership cultures. She is also deeply committed to advancing women in leadership. As co-founder of the Global Women Leadership Network and through her work as a board member, strategic advisor, and mentor to numerous nonprofit organizations, she continues to champion leadership, social impact, and meaningful change. At the heart of everything she does is a simple but powerful vision: a world where every individual lives a life of dignity. Abha, welcome to Lotus Ladder Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Joshua.
So, to start the conversation, I want to ask you, every founder has a beginning. Looking back, what problem were you trying to solve and what gave you the confidence to leap into entrepreneurship?
So, to be honest, it wasn't a specific problem that I was trying to solve. It was an opportunity, is what was out there. And I think if it was any problem, it was one of them in my personal life, is what showed up as a problem that I wanted to get over. I think my story was a lot of people, Jeffrey, have this think and say that this has always been my dream to be an entrepreneur, or at least ever since I became an adult. For me, that wasn't the case. It was, if anything, my dream was to be a senior executive in a corporate world. And thank God that I didn't get to that, because I
Mhm.
don't think that was my path. And it really started with I knew the industry that I started my business in, and so did my co-founder. We both had worked together for a year. And then we were working separately, but really in touch. And all of this started with a simple statement saying, one of these days we should do this ourselves. And it
Yeah.
all came from, you know what, having learned from people that we worked for things to do. There were good managers that we learned that from. And then there were people that where we didn't like it and we learned what not to do.
Yes.
And the dissatisfactions were there somewhere. So that's where that statement got in. 2 days later, it was like, oh, we think we can do this in a year. And
Uh-huh.
another couple of days passed by and we were talking. We're like, I think we can do in 6 months. Let's meet over the weekend and write a business plan. And we met the weekend, we wrote a business plan, and that's where uh, that simple statement that was there, you started saying, oh yeah, we can do this. This is a possibility. And really making sure that we followed all the finances and the marketing and all of those things. And for me, I very clearly remember going back to work next day, and there was a possibility through one of my networks to open a really big account. And I hesitated, thinking, wait a minute, if I'm going to start this on my
Yeah.
own, why am I doing it somewhere else? But that thought also did not sit well, because I got conflicted with getting my paycheck from someone. How do I not give it my full?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do I go back home and look in the mirror and like what I see? And I called my friend, who later became my co-founder, and I said that, okay, if we're going to do this, then we do need to do it sooner
Mhm.
because I cannot work here and not do all of that. And with that, so this was a conflict that was there. And she was on a contract where I think 4 to 6 weeks was still left on the contract. And she was like, I'm not going to break my contract. And in a way, actually, it aligned us on our values
Mm.
as we saw it. And those are all parts of when you're starting something,
Yeah.
to become partners with somebody. Are your values aligned? And I did say that is okay. I can quit, I can start off, and you can work evenings, weekends with me, and somewhere when your contract gets over, you do the
Yeah.
full time. Because in this journey, we can't be, I put in this much extra hours, you put in, and that's how the journey actually started for us. From all of that, with that, I did mention there was a personal issue with me,
Yeah.
right? I had this consistent complaint in my life that I don't have a choice. I have to work all my life to pay my
Mhm.
bills. And so that when all the fears were showing up, right? What if I fail?
Yeah.
With that, it was also, this is one way that I can at least give a try
Yeah.
to address that consistent complaint in my life. That either I give up that complaint completely and stop complaining,
Yeah.
or here is my choice. Doesn't work out, get to go back
There's
to that.
always a plan B in place, right? So,
Yes. So it was more so when you ask about a problem that it was addressing. I hate to say it, but I actually take that back. I don't hate to say it because this has helped me. Was addressing my own life
yeah.
issue
Yeah.
and doing something that, yes, it was not a innovative idea or anything. It was already being done, and we just tweaked things and did things our way.
Yeah. And I'm guessing you had your MBA by then, correct?
Yes, I did.
That is a tremendous, know-how, right? I mean, in some ways, I mean, you have the basic understanding of what not to do if you want to succeed. I mean, there'll be mistakes made regardless, right? Yeah.
Honest response, I did not remember majority of the stuff from my MBA by then. I did my MBA, I did well in it. I yes, it certainly puts things in place. It gave me, I'm being honest, it gave me credibility in the market and all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But my learning happened as I feel business you really need mostly is common sense.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is I went, pulled out the back to the library, pulled out the books to read, really again read. How do
Yeah.
you set up an organization? How to incorporate? I did not remember all
Yeah, yeah.
from my
I mean, MBA does not teach you all that, but you did mention something earlier that that definitely is an arson that people with an MBA will understand from the get-go that you need to have a business plan. If you want to start something, you've got to have a roadmap. That business plan serves you really, really well because otherwise it's just so easy to get sidetracked, not knowing what the mission is. You know what I'm saying? All of those things would have definitely come to the surface for you as you were, learning to do other things that you probably did not learn in business school.
Oh, absolutely. No, you're right. As you speak, yes, the business plan piece came from that.
Yeah,
It's sometimes I'm not saying one should not get MBA.
yeah,
Education is important, and everything in life that you learn, it somewhere collects and
yes,
comes together.
yes,
So I cannot say, oh, if had I not had my MBA, so anybody who's listening, I don't want anyone to think that, oh, if I don't have an MBA, I can't do
yeah.
it. If I
It's
don't
you
have
can
this,
see it as an ammunition in some ways, right? You'll be able to tap into it when you feel the need for it. It's a knowledge that you've gained regardless. And it just happens to be about managing a business, I guess. So
yeah.
I wanted to ask you something else. You were involved in two startups in Silicon Valley, and one was acquired by Monster.com. As a South Asian women founder, were there moments when your cultural background shaped the way you led or built your business?
I think. The place where it helped is because in that organization we were working, we did initially our business plan included going to India and recruiting from there and bringing people on H1. So, understanding the culture, having the background there, having connections there, all of that definitely helped.
Yeah.
And a year later, within a year, we pivoted from that model, but it gave us that foundation. And after that, also just understanding the culture, there's a lot of people. We have Silicon Valley, and we're working with lots of
Yeah.
engineers, management consultants who have that. There were a lot of Indians there. So I think it added to that. And in the beginning, it certainly helped.
Yeah. So we talked about, I just within the question I said, it was acquired by monster.com. It might be helpful for you to say what type of business was it that you started as well, right?
Absolutely. It was a contract consulting
Okay.
company and where we place senior level software engineers and management consultants.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, many South Asian women are raised to value stability, certainty, while entrepreneurship often requires embracing ambiguity and risk. So, how did you navigate that mindset? And what advice would you give to women who are considering starting something on their own?
Oh yeah, we all want that stability. We want the certainty. And I was once told, right, the biggest constant is change.
Yes.
There is no certainty or stability, but yes, there is a mindset and there is a comfort space. And you talked about risk and all of that. And especially since you're talking South Asian women, I think
Yeah.
women in general, I feel it's sometimes we feel in business, women are not risk takers. I hear that a lot from people. And I
But to
feel
the contrary.
totally, it's like the women have been the biggest risk takers and talk about South Asians. And I know that's reduced a little bit, but there's still a lot of arranged marriages there. And the arranged marriages, what can be a bigger risk than you're like committing to your whole life to someone that you don't know and to move to a household where you don't know anyone, constantly adapting, changing, risk
Yeah.
taking. So I would say that is so in the DNA there that just transfer it back in here. Coming back to how did I navigate is I would say on a day-to-day basis.
Mm,
There is no one magic bullet in there. And it is on a day-to-day basis. Looking at it is like what's working. If it's not working, without knowing in the moment, I think a lot of just breathing helped
mhm.
for me, just breathing and grounding whenever the anxiety would come up because change is going to come. There is going to be how much ever we planned. Yes, we did our business plan. And I just told you a year later, we pivoted from that completely. Same thing was in the second company. What we started with, we pivoted. And I've worked with so many founders and I've heard the same story again and
Of
again.
course.
So it is that. And the other part I would say is having a community of support around people
Yes.
that I could reach out to, ask questions when I didn't know something, or
Yeah.
going back and that time there was no internet and everything.
Yeah.
So it was going to the library, pulling out the books,
Right.
reading up on it. So I think that was my way of working with uncertainties or risk is talking to people. And the more I talked to people, I found out, okay, no matter what they were doing, everybody was going dealing with risks and uncertainties and getting guidances from people. I don't think I'm one of those who had, if I can say that I had this one mentor or two mentors, they were like every person I talked to, I'd learned something from them. So learning
Yeah.
to talk about it rather than feeling I'm going to deal with it on my own.
So, looking back over your entrepreneurial journey, what has been your biggest personal transformation?
Biggest transformation. I won't say there is one big transformation because I feel like it is, it's a journey. And there are a lot of small things. And for me, it's the confidence that it built in me. It's also with that a self-compassion around it. I learned to trust myself much.
Mm.
I was one of them who and I still am. It still is, everything hasn't gone away, saying that I'm not good enough, I'm not capable of this, somebody else is better than me. Someone else is always going to be better.
Yeah.
But, and
In something or the other, in something or the other, right? Yeah.
yeah, and I've learned by working with a lot of other people too. Those statements is, they said we all have some statement or the other, multiple of those sitting in there and examining those. I think I've learned to examine those. I won't say they've gone away. I've learned to trust myself more, learned to trust the universe a little bit more, and know that if I don't know something, I have the ability to figure it out. And I'm not saying, okay, I'm never going to be doing something in astrophysics or some of those things, but a lot of things I can figure it out. And that's been a transformation. It's just that trust in myself, trust in my community that's there around me that I've created. That has helped. And with that, as I said, self-compassion and knowing I'm going to fail at times, because for me, Jayashree, I like new things in life. I like constant learning. If I'm not learning, I get bored. And when it is, if I have to learn, that means it's a space of discomfort too, which brings
Yeah.
up anxieties. And I have learned that for me, that excitement and anxieties go hand in hand, a healthy level of both.
Right, right.
And
Yeah.
embracing that idea now helps me deal with things better. And that's a personal transformation that, okay, there is going to be anxiety. There is going to be that fear of failure. And how am I going to embrace it? I call myself a calculated risk taker. So how am I going to mitigate that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Was there a moment when you realized you had grown into a different leader than the one you started the company, than what you were when you started the company?
Again, the same one. I don't think there was a specific moment, but I'm thinking about the journey of leadership. Leadership is, I am sure we all know that, you know it equally well. It is an ongoing journey. We're all like work in progress. But through that, the entrepreneurial journey or even the rest of journey, I think I communicate differently. And I'm addressing my consistent complaints much more. If I have a complaint in life, it is like either I address it, or if I'm not going to address it, then letting go of it. And because there are costs and payoffs with each, and not necessarily it's every complaint is something that I'm willing to, it's not like it cannot be addressed. I'm not willing to address it. And once I accepted that it is my choice, I'm not willing to address it. Sometimes some people in your life, they're too close and you have a complaint about them. Then it is finding out, okay, what is my healthy
Yeah,
balance that I'm going to maintain? And if I am choosing not to address this complaint, leave it there.
yeah,
Then I'm accepting the consequences of it. I think that has been one of the things that I've learned through it. And I had mentioned earlier, I really learned through this journey. If I need answers, I can find them. It's
yeah,
just knowing that that has been a big, I think I've done much more. It's a reflective journey.
absolutely. And if I can add something more to it from my perspective, one of the things that, if I can speak about my own experience, as you become more visible, I have realized that we also become a little more self-aware, you know, of the things that we're saying, the effect it might have on the people that are listening to it. It's just this self-awareness that grows as well as you become visible as a leader, because the conscientious part of it reminds you that there are people who are perceiving you differently than what you might want them to, or they're perceiving you the way based on their belief systems, and they're also interpreting things that are coming out of your mouth. And if you want it to be exactly what you want it to be, then you need to be you need to have much more clarity in the way you communicate as well. Those are the things that I've experienced myself, you know? Yeah.
Totally. And I have to say, if there is from education purpose, we talked about MBA. More than MBA, what helped me was after my after the exits and my
Yeah.
entrepreneur journey, I actually went back to school and did my certifications in life coaching and
Yeah.
leadership coaching. And that put me on that path of of constant reflections and examinations, all of that. And doing the leadership workshops, I feel every time I'm working with others, whether it's executive coaching, leadership,
Yeah.
it's all reflecting back on me. I ask a question and I come back with, okay, how am I answering that question?
Right.
Because otherwise, to be authentic and to be honest about that, I think that forces me into a constant growth, right? It's almost like chipping away. It's never complete clarity. I get a clarity on one thing, and then there's a whole
Right.
other stuff.
It's
It's like
continual
it's
growth.
never
Yeah.
done or anything. So I've learned to appreciate what I have done. Earlier, it was always like, okay, what am I not doing well? What am I not
Yeah.
doing well? And that was again something, I don't know if it's in everyone or was it the South Asian upbringing or what. We all get wired in some way through the messagings that happen. I think it is actually, I take it back as I'm talking and thinking aloud here. I would say it is something that we all are wired. It's not just South Asians. Yes, there's different wirings that happen in every community and culture.
Yeah.
And again, South Asian is so many countries and so many levels, every community within that. So I don't want to club all of that together either. But in the world, we all get so many messagings that we don't even know, and
Yeah.
they wire us, they form our belief systems, our paradigms, and we operate from that unknowingly. And to just pay
Absolutely.
attention to your own, all of those chatter in your own head more than even the chatter from outside. So that's been
I
helpful.
Thank you for sharing that. At Lotus Ladder Collective, we believe leadership grows through meaningful experiences, not just titles. So, looking back, what experiences challenged you the most? And it's a two-part question. And how did they shape the leader you become today?
Okay. If I was to think of an work experience that challenged me most was came to this country and did my MBA. I was not very certain what I wanted to do. And because didn't have anybody to talk to, any mentorship or any of that at that point in my life for various reasons and all of that. But I told myself one thing I would never do is sales because I'm
Mhm.
not an extrovert. And as I was going through job search, I graduated during recession time, so job market was very hard, and MBA was not a good degree to have during a recession. Either I was overqualified or underexperienced, and to keep my visa status legal and to pay my bills, the only job I got was to sell vacuum cleaners door to door.
Mm.
Hardcore sales from saying this is one thing I would never do. And I realized it took me less than 3 weeks to realize I enjoyed it and I was really good
Yeah.
at it. It
Yeah.
wasn't that sales was not the pushy thing. It was about building relationship, listening, and I enjoyed all of that. So I think for me, the learning that it was a challenge because to get that was hard. And there was the biggest, best thing that I did, I feel, was because this box that I had constructed that I am not an extrovert. That was my first box. And then I added a box on top of that box was I can never do sales. And those box breaking
Yeah.
was a liberation. And also after that in life, I keep it asking myself those questions, right? That What are few of the boxes? Because again, the same thing, as we break boxes, we construct new ones. That's
Yeah, it's the construct that you create in your mind sometimes. And in this day and age, sales sometimes, might have a different reputation than what it is today. I mean, sales these days is all about customer success and, relying on the data a lot more than what it used to be before. So sometimes it's a connotation as well that you've grown up to believe, like you said, sales require someone to be pushy. Not necessarily the case, right? You learned it by doing it yourself, I guess, right? So yeah,
I think it was more Jeffrey was seeing the boxes I constructed, even
yes.
saying I'm not an extrovert, and anybody I say that to, they
So
all
in other
you're
words,
not
we
what?
sometimes limit ourselves by, yeah, absolutely. I hear you. I
I
absolutely
call
hear
it a self-imposed limitations, and I
you.
feel like if I have constructed a box, it is my construction. I can break that box. At least check the reality of it.
Yes,
Some
yes,
boxes are real. We talked about I'm not an astrophysics, and that is a real box. So
absolutely. Yeah. So many of the women listening may have put their own dreams on hold while raising families, building careers, or supporting others. If there's one message you'd want to leave them with about believing in themselves or pursuing something that they've always wanted to do, what would it be?
I hear that right, the women, I think more than men, I feel everybody has those women and have those constructs, right, that they need to be a good daughter, a good sibling, a good wife, a good mother, a
Yeah,
good friend, a good community member, all of those. And in the process, but if I feel like I have to be good to me and live my dreams,
yeah,
that is selfish. That's a construct that's been built somewhere, that belief system. And I'm not saying all the rest are not important. I would say, but you yourself are at the core, in the center of it.
yeah.
And if you pay attention to that, it actually fuels all your other roles from there. Find the joy that you have. What gives you joy? Really, not that, okay, just seeing others as a joy. What gives you joy? What is your sense of pride? What do you care about? And I think doing that, can become a good role model. And that is a role that they are fulfilling. So I would say, and don't let all of these boxes that you've constructed stop you from thinking that I'm not a risk taker. I don't know this. I don't know that. You can figure it out if it is something that you really believe in. Try it out. It's almost like if a seed, you find a seed before you throw it away, at least plant it,
Yeah.
water it a little bit, not too much yet. And when the sapling starts coming out, see whether you like that. You want to put in more effort. And
Yeah,
as you do it, watch it.
yeah,
So don't throw away that seed. If you
yeah,
find a great seed, don't throw it away, is what I
yeah,
would say. Pay attention to it. Those opportunities show up in life, pay attention to them.
yeah. Wonderful, wonderful nuggets of wisdom that you shared today, Abha. Thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. For those of you who are listening right now, if you think that this conversation resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe and follow us. And leave your comments. We want to hear from you as to whether this conversation touched you or whether you gained something from listening to this conversation. We want to hear from you as well. Thank you, Abha, for joining me today. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all for joining
Thank
us as well.
thank you, Joshua.